Alright guys, welcome to the Finding Formations demo. As you guys probably all know, it's Chad Jensen's new World War II game that he's been working on for a little while now. Basically what we're going to do in this demo is just go through the rules. I'm going to try to keep the rules as quick as I can. I can go into detail. If you guys have any questions, feel free to chat up in the Vassal chat line up there. Bryce is here to help me with the demo. He'll be the Russian side here in just a minute, and I'll be the Germans. He's one of the play testers, so am I, and he's good with the rules, so he can answer any kind of rule that you might have, question that you might have about the rules up there. And you can also stop me if you need to, and I can explain things a little bit slower or a little more detailed. Just interrupt me, and I'll be happy to go over anything that you guys have missed. Everybody, I hope, is sunk up on me right now, and basically what I want to do is go through some of the rules with you. I want to go over the game turn with you to start with. The game turn works as there are, if you'll notice in the very middle of the screen, up at the top, you have an order matrix. And the way this game works is every time that you do an order, you're going to pull one of those black cubes and take them off of the counter matrix, and you're going to put them in the used order box over to the right hand side. And then you'll perform that order or below. And then when all 10 of those cubes have been used, and there's been 10 orders, then the turn is over, and we will start anew. We'll go over to the left-hand side at the time track, and we'll go through that end of turn procedure. And there are 0 through 9 things that we will do there. And I'll get into that in just a little bit, but that's basically how a turn works. You pull a cube, you state the order that you're going to do, and you activate all the units that you want to do that order. When you finish with all your activated units, then what happens is we see where the initiative is. And if you look right below the counter matrix, you'll see a track that's called the initiative track. And it's right below it. It starts there at 0, and it goes to the right to the German side, and it goes left to the Russian side. And there you see that little orange pawn that's on the number 8 right now. When we start the actual little scenario that we've set up, the Germans will start with the initiative of 8. And I'll explain how this initiative track works along with the counter matrix. And that is really the main thing of this game. It's the mechanism that makes this game work. So I'm going to go over that to start with, and then I'm going to go into the counters so you see exactly how they work. So let's start with the counter matrix. You'll notice that there are numbers at the bottom: 1 for an asset order, moving up, 2, 3, 4, fire, move, rally. You'll also notice that it's different for each side, where the Russians, the Soviets, will have a fire that costs 3 initiative, and it only costs the Germans 2 to do a fire order. So that's basically how this game works. Let's say as a Russian player, I wanted to do a fire order. I would take this cube, I would bring it over here, over into the use section, and then this would have to be over here. I'm going to move that initiative pawn over to the Russian side. It costs 3 to do that fire order for the Soviets. Then I would take this pawn and I would move it 3 towards the Germans. 1, 2, 3. So I used up 3 of my initiative to do that fire order. As long as that pawn is on your side of the track, you can continue to do orders. So if this pawn is way over here, say at 10, you might get quite a few orders in before the Germans even get to do an order. You could do a couple of fires for 3, and then maybe an asset for 1. So that's one way that you can kind of manipulate this track and try to get as many orders as you can for yourself. Sometimes you have no choice but to swing it one way or the other because of circumstances that you're in. So the thing about this counter matrix is that you will perform the order that you're choosing or below. So that means that as it looks right here, if the Germans want to do a fire order, it would normally cost them 2. So you see the little 2 by the fire on the German side? Well, there's no cube there. So the Germans are going to have to go higher up the matrix to do a fire order. So they're going to have to pull a 3 to do a fire. And that would shift this from 8 down to 5. So as those lower cubes start to get used up, it's going to get more expensive to do the simple things like fire and move. Are there any questions about how that part of the matrix works? Okay, now I'm going to go through the different orders really quickly just to kind of explain to you how they work. An asset, number 1. What that is, and you can see to the right-hand side, is there's a little description on the counter matrix. The number 1 is an asset. You're going to play one of your assets. And assets are in your hand. The Soviet has a hand, and the Germans have a player's hand. They're playing cards. And on those cards, there are different types of orders. There are artillery barrages, maybe a Stuka dive bomber, smoke. There's just a lot of different assets that are in the card decks. And to play one as an order, it costs 1. So when all those gets used up and you start using 5s and 6s to play assets, it gets a little expensive. That's some of the tough decisions that are made in this game. Is it worth spending that much in initiative to do that? So that's what assets are. It's to play a card that's in your hand. And when we get into the scenario, we're going to do some of that so you'll see how it works. And then the next one up, and I'm just going to look at the German side. I'm going to go up the German side. The orders are the same. They just might not be in the same spot. Fire order is when you're going to activate some, all, a few of your troops, and you're going to fire at the enemy. A move order is what it says. You're going to activate your units and move. And you'll also notice right below the move, it says melee for gun. So it takes a move order for a gun to enter melee. And that's not very common for guns to go into melee because they don't have close combat very good. So that doesn't get used too often. The next one up is a rally. And a rally is if you have units that have been hit and they have hit markers on them, and I'll go into those in just a few minutes. You use a rally order to try to rally the troops and take those hit markers off of them and put them up to full strength. The next one up is an assault. And an assault lets you move and fire during the same turn. You'll also notice right below there, it's melee for vehicles. That is the only way a vehicle can enter into a hex, an opponent's hex. The way that the assault works is you will only get half of your movement points. So as an infantry unit, if I have 6 movement points, I'm half down to 3. And I must use one of those. I don't have to, but if I want to fire, it's going to cost me 1 movement point to fire. So that's how the assault works. And it's printed on the side there that you can read it. So it's half movement, and it costs 1 of your movement points to actually fire. The advance allows you to move 1 hex, and you don't have to worry about terrain costs for this. It's a 1 hex move. As long as it's a hex there's some hexes that you're not allowed to move into. You can't do that, but any other hex you can move into there, and you will notice that it says melee for infantry. That's the only order that you can use to enter a hex with an infantry unit. Above that one is a sniper. And I will go into the sniper probably a little bit in more detail later, but basically what's happening is we're going to have some command markers that are going to be on the board, and at the end of the turn, when we go through our turn sequence, whoever owns the sniper counter, and it is right to the left of the time track, whoever side that is on, that person will do a sniper activity, where you're going to try to either take one of the command markers out of the game or weaken the effect of the command markers. And I will go into that in more detail in just a minute. And then 8, 9, and 10 are all the same. You're going to draw 1, 2, or 3 asset cards for battalion, regimental, or division support. So those are the orders, and how whatever the number is to the side of the order is what it costs in initiative. Now there's another very important part of how the initiative works, and that's command. So what I want you guys to do is to go to the very bottom right-hand corner of the map. So scroll down there, and you're going to see a bunch of units that are set up. We're not going to be using these during this scenario, but we are going to be using these to explain some things to you. And while I'm talking about the counters right now, I just want to let you guys know that these are just playtest art right now. The tanks are not going to look like that. You can see the grenadiers look pretty nice. I believe they're pretty close to being finished. The tanks are going to look a lot better. A lot of this is just playtest art at this point. So I want you to take a look at the, I'm going to move this Russian command unit, and I'm going to put it right by the grenadiers. I moved it into K22. What that is that is a command marker, and you'll notice that it's on mission command right now, and it has a 0 on it. Now I'm going to turn on a zone of control that Vassal has, and for this scenario, the Russians have a zone of control for their command markers of 2 hexes. So everything that's in that shadowed area is under the command of this counter, and they are under mission command, and you'll see that it has that 0 on it. That means if I want to activate a unit to do an order that's within this zone of control, it won't cost me anything else initiative-wise to activate them. So what that means is I'm going to bring this rifle unit over for you to look at. Now, if I wanted to activate this rifle unit, he would turn to that side. You can see there's 2 sides to the counter. The white stripe means that the counter is activated. And let's say I'm doing a fire order. Well, it cost me, 2 initiative to do the fire order. As long as this guy's in mission command, which he is because he falls within this zone of control, it doesn't cost me anything extra. Now, if this counter was flipped like that to the tactical side, in tactical command, it would cost me an extra 1 on my initiative. So it cost me 2 for the order, plus 1 more because I activated this rifle unit, and he is under tactical command. That's what that 1 is right there. Now let's say that this counter was here. Now that rifle unit is under no command, so it would cost 2 to activate him, 2 more initiative. So it cost me 2 to do the fire order. It's going to cost me 2 more initiative because I've activated a rifle unit that's not under any command. Any questions there? Okay, well, we'll continue then. These command markers can be dropped on the board at any time during the scenario, your turn or your opponent's turn. You will notice, go to the top up here, and next to the counter matrix that we were showing you, you will see there's some command boxes on the right-hand side Oops, I've got these on the wrong side. Let me put the Russians where they're supposed to go. And put the Germans where they're supposed to go. Russians are on that side, Germans are on that side. Take a look at, the Germans have 3 command markers that are in the available box. That means I could take one of those commands anytime during the game and drop it anywhere I want to drop it. And so let's say, for instance, I'm during the game and I want to shoot my MG42, and I don't want to spend any extra for my initiative. I could take one of these zeros, and I'm going to do it right now, and I'm going to drop it into E6, right over there by the railroad tracks. So I've dropped that command there, and I turn on the German command radius. Now all of those units that are within that command radius right there, I can activate them to do any order I want, and it won't cost me any extra initiative. At the end of the turn, when all 10 of those cubes have been used, then all mission command that's on the board will be flipped over to the tactical side. So now he is a 1, which means this next turn, if I activate anybody in this command's radius, then it's going to cost me an extra 1. And then when the turn is done, that's this next turn ends, all 10 of the cubes have been used, that tactical command is going to go up into the pending box, which is next to the available command. Then the next turn, all pending goes into available. So you have to cycle your command through. So you have to be very careful in how you use your command. You really don't want to leave yourself a whole turn where you have no command markers and it's just killing you in activating your troops. You're just shifting the initiative to your opponent like crazy. So that's something that you've got to be very careful about. One thing that I did not mention earlier about the initiative track, you will see that when the pawn gets to 0, if you look up at the initiative track, whoever owns the fate card, and anybody that plays Combat Commander will know what that fate card is. A fate card works just like it does in Combat Commander, to make your opponent re-roll one of his rolls. You can also use it to re-roll one of your rolls. And also, whoever has the initiative card gets to play a order when it's on 0. And if the game is tied at the end, whoever holds the initiative card wins, breaks the tie. So the initiative card is very important in this game, especially when you're worried about possibly keeping that 0 on your side for commands. Any questions about how command works or the counter matrix? Alright, now what we're going to do is we're going to go down to the bottom right-hand corner, where we were before, where I was showing you some of those examples. So everybody scroll down to the bottom right-hand corner, and I'm going to go over the counters with you.